Meanwhile, new data from the National Association of Realtors shows home sales jumped 4.2% month over month, but they all fell a little more than 1% compared to the same time last year. CBS News MoneyWatch correspondent Kelly O'Grady is here in Studio 55 and joins me to talk about it. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right, so how is this? Is this a reaction to the tariffs, or is this something altogether different?
You know, I think it's altogether a little bit different. We have seen mortgage rates come down the past few weeks, which is, I think, what people have a little bit been waiting for. You know, I think everyone's kind of in the same boat of we're probably not going to get back to that 3%. So if you're on the sidelines, just jump in. Mm-hmm. The thing that really stood out to me, though, is there's only a 3.5 month supply of available houses, and typically a 5 to 6 month is considered stable for the housing market. Mm-hmm. And it's been like this for a while. I mean, we've talked about this before, that there just isn't enough supplied and there aren't enough homes being built. And so you mentioned tariffs. That's where I think things get tricky, because when you have lumber costing more, aluminum, steel, all of these building materials costing more, that is going to be tough if you need to build more homes quickly.
All right, so you just came back from Washington, D.C. You were at that press conference with Fed Chair Jerome Powell yesterday. You asked him a question related to how consumers are feeling about the price of everyday goods. What did he tell you?
Well, he told me that, hey, this is because prices were high for so long and inflation was high for so long, and that people are really feeling the fact that prices going back to summer of 2022 were rising at 9%. Remember, that was the inflation rate. And he said, look, the economy is good, but I understand people are feeling it. It was sort of a wait and see. I think, you know, it feeds into consumer sentiment, though. Someone who's looking at their grocery bill and looking at their credit card statement and looking at the possibility of tariffs and how that's going to impact them, they're not saying, oh, well, that was the data from before. They're just putting it all together and feeling like this is just piling on right now.
So the president of the United States had some words about it. What did he say, and what does he think the Fed should be doing?
He thinks the Fed should be cutting rates. He said, quote, do the right thing in a Truth Social post last night. And this is interesting because the White House and the Fed, they are supposed to be separate, but the president has indicated a desire to talk about interest rates. And look, Chair Powell was asked about whether President Trump and the White House would influence him in any way in that press conference, even before this post on Truth Social. And he said no, and there was laughter in the room. So I think you're going to see a lot more of this back and forth. But you know what? I just wanted to hit on one thing that I thought was interesting, because you and I have talked about this question of inflation and growth.
Yep.
The Fed is still expecting to cut interest rates by
That was going to be my follow-up.
Okay, all right, sorry.
Yeah. So they're still, you think that they're going to cut?
So that's what their projections said, that they're going to still cut 2 times this year, yet their own projections show that inflation is supposed to be higher than they were initially expecting. And so I asked Chair Powell, I said, why are you doing this? Does that mean you are concerned about economic growth? And all of this consumer sentiment leading to less spending? And he didn't really answer the question. He said, oh, it's so uncertain. But yeah, that was initially my take. Oh, wow. So if you think inflation,
they're still thinking on, they're still planning on those 2 cuts.
I mean, obviously this changes all the time, right? But I was very surprised to see that.
Wow, really fascinating. It's good to have you back in New York, Kelly. Thank you very much. Appreciate it as always.